Welcome to Hot Flashes and Higher Self, the podcast where midlife becomes your awakening. I'm Soraya, a clinical hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapist guiding women through perimenopause and beyond, embracing transformation rather than just symptom management. Each week, myself and inspiring women in wellness will dive into mindset shifts, somatic tools, spiritual practices, and the candid stories that move us towards our limitless selves. So, if you're navigating perimenopause, menopause, or simply just wondering what's next for me, then you're in the right place. Let's rise together, mind, body, and spirit. This is Hot Flashes and Higher Self. Today's conversation is such a beautiful one, especially if you've been feeling disconnected from yourself, questioning who you are in this stage of life, or just sensing that something deeper is trying to emerge within you. I'm joined today by Dina, an intuitive coach and author who blends life coaching with sacred tools such as numerology, astrology, tarot, and intuitive guidance to help women reconnect with themselves in midlife. And together we explore what happens when the life you thought no longer fully aligns with who you are becoming, and why midlife isn't a crisis, but an invitation back to yourself. And we talk about people-pleasing, burnout, intuition versus anxiety, self-trust, purpose, identity, and how women can begin to listen to their own inner voice again after years of putting everyone else first. There's also a really interesting part of the conversation where Dina explains what numerology is and actually reads my life path and personal year number live during the episode, which is really interesting and very accurate and deeply insightful. So whether you're navigating change, feeling overwhelmed, or searching for clarity, or just simply craving a deeper connection with yourself, I think this conversation will really resonate. So just grab a tea, slow down for a moment, and let's dive in. So, hi, Dina. Welcome to the podcast. First of all, I'm just going to ask you to just share a little bit about your journey, personally and professionally, and what led you into this type of work that you're doing.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much, Soraya, for having me on your show. I feel as though your work and my work are like, a Venn diagram, like we cross, and I'm really excited to be here. So, first of all, my work focuses on helping women, especially those in midlife, reclaim and connect who they are beneath all of the roles, expectations, and everything that kind of life has kind of put on them. I believe that midlife is not a crisis. It's an invitation. So this midlife is a chance for you to ask, who am I now? What actually matters? And why does the life that I built maybe no longer fully fit with who I am at this point? So I work a lot with women they're questioning it. So professionally, I am a certified life coach, and I am also the author of The Way Within, Igniting Your Intuition with Sacred Tools. And I've spent years exploring the intersection between practical coaching and using these sacred tools. And what makes my work unique is that I blend coaching with my use of what I call my sacred tools, which are tarot, numerology, astrology. I created my own system of charm reading. And I look at this as kind of like a spiritual improv with a grounded twist. So my philosophy is simple. These tools aren't about giving you answers. They're about telling your futures. I see these all as mirrors. And sometimes these mirrors are playful, sometimes they are fiercely honest, but they help reveal what wants to come forward next. So I'm all about slowing down enough to hear your wisdom again. And sometimes it's the first time in years that women have actually done this, remembering who you are. And also, the thing is, your body has all the answers. So many women don't really even need advice, or, what they do need is permission to trust what they already know.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. I know you asked what led me to that work, and I kind of like went off in this whole big tangent.
Yeah. So what particular moment or life phase like led you? What was a shift for you that got you into this type of work, helping women in midlife?
Well, I think that what it was leaving my corporate career. So I worked in a career, was in sales, and what I
Mhm.
sold was medical and nursing staffing, which meant that I was staffing for hospitals, emergency rooms, clients that were basically 24/7. And it seemed like there were no boundaries in my work. I worked nights, I worked weekends. It was constant urgency in my work. And I became someone, because I wanted to keep my job and keep earning money, I became somebody who was constantly available, always
Mhm.
responsible, always the one that kind of came in and saved the day. But I eventually got to a point where I realized this life that I was envisioning in my mind and the life that I was living really did not, they were not in alignment with each other, because having this job affected my family, it affected my peace, it affected who I was becoming. And I realized, like, because really what happened, what kind of like was my fork in the road, was like my watershed moment, was COVID. And
Mhm.
I felt as though I had known this for a while, but I think that COVID kind of brought everything, as it did for many people, to the forefront. And it was like I could no longer ignore it. And it got quiet, for a lot of people. All of a sudden, like, their busy lives came to a screeching halt during COVID. And
Mhm.
then what happened is, without all of the noise and chaos of like the daily life, I had to face the truth. And that I realized that the life that I had been living isn't the life that I wanted to be living. And that was a real turning point. And so that was kind of like, COVID was around the time that I stopped pretending that I didn't
Mhm.
know. And I started trusting what I did.
Mhm. So from that, did you immediately leave your job and go into the spiritual side, working with women? Was that
Well,
immediate? Mhm.
here's the thing. Since I was about 8 years old, my grandmother was very into astrology growing up, and I feel very lucky that I had such a wise and kind woman, introducing me to this. And so what happened was, she opened up something in with me, like, as she was teaching me astrology, that, like, there's always this idea that there's more than meets the eye to people, like when she was talking to me about their
Mhm.
astrological signs or who they were. So through my grandmother, I became very fascinated by people. I became
Yeah.
very fascinated by their patterns, by their timing, what people do, why they do it. I mean, I had a very happy childhood. I had wonderful parents, I had wonderful grandparents, and I had a lot of love. But like many people, when I went to school, in junior high, whatever,
Mhm.
there were times that I felt like I didn't quite fit in. And
Mhm.
what that did is it kind of put me on the outside. I wasn't always in the mix, so to speak.
Mhm.
And when I was on the outside, I started to become an
Mhm.
observer of people, and I started noticing that I could sense the mood in the room. I noticed things that were unspoken. I noticed the difference between what people said and how they actually felt. So this
Mhm.
sensitivity became my strength. And so I had a strong sense of intuition from very early on in my life. My grandmother introduced me to astrology at a young age, but after I went to college, I discovered an intro to tarot class.
Mhm.
And that's when I really started to connect with this divinatory work. So I have always, like, since I graduated college, I have always been doing tarot, astrology, numerology, but the focus to work with women
Mhm.
happened right around the time that COVID hit. And I realized that I was at this crossroads. And I thought to myself, am I the only one that feels this way?
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
realized that was a big no. A lot of people feel this way. So that's how it all came about.
And it's quite nice, isn't it, to realize you're not the only one. There's so many women going for that same thing. So you kind of feel you're connected, aren't you? All of us.
Yes, absolutely. And I feel like, unfortunately, we are connected by um you know I think we are taught a lot, like, women feel like this sense of restlessness, this anxiety, this disconnection with themselves, because we have been taught for so long to people please, to over function, to be the strong one, to like to think ahead about what people might need and then jump in and just do it. We always have to be kind of like the good one, the one that, let me get you a drink. We're always accommodating for other
Accommodating,
people.
yeah. Hmm.
Yes. And we're
And there's
not
also the
always,
anger. Sorry,
yeah.
Dina. There's also
Yeah.
that's why a lot of my clients have a lot of anger
Hmm.
because they're holding that in, that suppression, isn't it? You're not truly able to be what you want or to do what you want. You're always trying to do it for everyone else. And then I think that realization, it's that build up, the anger kind of is like bubbling.
Yeah, because I feel like it's like, okay, we've been doing it for a long time, but I think that what happens is
Mhm.
the anger is from we've been doing it this way for so long that nobody even says, can I help you? Or let me take care of this for you. Like I always say to the women that come to me when they say, they're always doing for other people, that I ask often, like, where are they on their list of priorities? And very often they are not at the top of their own list. And
Yeah,
and I said to them, I always, one of my questions is like, so you're taking care of everybody, who's taking care of you?
yeah.
And that's where the disconnect comes in because a lot of times the answer is no one.
Nobody, yeah, exactly. Not even themselves, right? Because you're always giving so much energy to everyone around you, you forget yourself. And that's I think also when women who have children, the children leave home, they've got nobody at home, and they kind of like think, "Who am I?" It's also getting your identity back, isn't it?
That is 1000% what I see also.
Mm,
And people ask like, why is midlife like this point? And I feel like it's because the noise that has filled our lives has suddenly
mm,
gotten quiet. Children grow up, parents age, career shifts,
mm.
hormones go a little bit crazy,
Yeah.
relationships evolve, and sometimes that scaffolding of who we've been starts to
Mm,
loosen. And suddenly there is space. And in that space, that's where the truth lives.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, how did your own experiences shape the way you now support women?
Well, I feel as though women want to be heard. And I know that like in my own experiences when I worked in corporate, like it really wasn't about what I wanted or how I felt. It was just about what needed to be done.
Mm,
So I really want to make sure that women are heard.
mm,
And so when women come to work with me, I mean, I have a whole like discovery session and I give them a questionnaire of, kind of where they find themselves right now, what brought them to where they are with me
mm,
kind of thing. But I also want to know like, so what are the hot topics that are coming up for you? Like, what are your hot button issues and where do you feel unheard? Where do you feel angry? Where do you even feel rage? Rage is
mm,
it's not even it's like beyond anger because it's been bubbling under the surface for so long. And I also like want to know like so what is it that you want to be different? And I want to know like if you could paint me a perfect picture, like what would your life look like? Like, would you be living, like maybe people live in a city and they don't want to be living in a city. The city's too loud, it's too busy. Like maybe that was a fit for them when they were at a different point of their life. So it's like, what do you
mm,
want your surroundings to look like? What do you want your relationships to look like? What do you want, are there friendships that, you know, I understand that friendships are not always 50-50, but sometimes it's like it's 90-10. I'm like, you know what? Like,
mm.
what is it that's not working for you? Like, do you want to change your relationship with your children? Do you want to have a hobby? And then people are kind of like, I don't even know where to start with this because they haven't had a hobby for so long. Like
Yeah.
they're like being asked questions. Like, and a lot of times, um, my clients are like they look a little bit a deer in the headlights when I start asking these questions because for so long they have not thought about themselves. They
Mm.
sometimes are at a loss for where to begin to even searching for the answer.
Mm. Yeah, it's like you said, it's so for so many years you're taking care of everyone around you. You're not thinking about yourself, and then all of a sudden you're being asked what you want to do. It is a
Right,
bit, yeah.
right. So a lot of times what I do is I start out with talking about their intuition, like, and how
Mm.
do they, because I know that women, I mean, and once again, I'm not saying that men don't have these issues. I don't want to just like, put it,
Yeah, but today
but
we're talking about focusing on women, midlife women,
yes,
so that's
yes.
fine. You're good to go,
So,
Dina.
but I do think that another thing that women feel a lot is anxiety. So
Mm.
sometimes when we're not familiar with what intuition feels like, there is like a blurry line. Like, is what
Mm.
I'm feeling anxiety or is what I'm feeling my intuition? Like,
Mm.
and especially after years of ignoring their own signals or living on like high alert of
Yeah.
afraid of like, like what happens
Mm.
if the house of cards falls kind of thing. There's a lot of different ways, that they get information. So what I am looking to do is establish a relationship, like for women to connect to themselves so they don't
Mm.
have to seek answers and permission and, confirmation anywhere in the outside world.
But okay, so how, going back to anxiety and intuition, how
Yeah.
can you tell the difference between what they are in the body? Because they're very similar, like you said. So how would you know?
Well, they can be, but like intuition tends to be very quiet
Hmm.
and a little bit more gentle. And it
Hmm.
comes in very clearly. It might come in as a soft knowing or like a simple yes or a no. There's usually not a lot of drama, not a lot of urgency associated with intuition. It's just a sense of rightness, like this is the
Mm.
right thing to do, even if it's not always the most convenient thing, like just kind of being like, I know that I need to do this, kind of like trusting that. Or even like, I know that this line looks like it's moving faster. I'm going to get on this line at the supermarket as opposed to the other
Mm.
line, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Whereas anxiety can be very noisy. It feels
Hmm.
urgent. It feels scattered. And it often feels like catastrophic. Like anxiety can loop and it runs through like the worst case scenarios, the what ifs, the self-doubt. And intuition doesn't spiral, it just speaks. So if
Mm.
something feels like an alarm is going off in your head, usually that's anxiety speaking. If it's just like a sense of knowing, then that's usually your intuition talking. And
Mm.
so aside from that initial feeling, I also feel like you can sense it in your body. So
Hmm.
intuition can feel very grounding. Even if it leads you, once again, to an uncomfortable place, there's a sense of calm, a sense of relief, a sense of clarity in your body. Kind of like, I don't know if some people like I know sometimes like I'll get like this bad feeling in like what I call my gut, like my like if something feels wrong, I'm just like
Mm.
sometimes my body is just like it's almost like resisting as I move forward kind of thing. I can feel it in my body. Where
Hmm.
anxiety can feel very constraining, can feel like you're breathing very shallowly
Mm.
in your chest. You can feel like your heart is beating. There's tension in your gut, kind of thing, as I mentioned, and it feels like contraction. It doesn't feel like expansion. Whereas intuition can feel very freeing. Like, you know what? I'm following what I know is right, feeling more freedom.
Hmm.
Whereas anxiety is like, I have to fit this round peg in this square hole, and it's really hard to do. And it's kind of like it's more urgent in the feeling. And I mean, I can give you a few more examples if you'd like.
No, I think that's great. Like it makes sense. I've got a visual going on
Yeah,
with that, like
yeah.
the
So
stress you
it's
feel as
and
well, the anxiety. Mhm.
yeah, so when you're faced with a decision, all I would say is pause,
Mhm.
get still and place your hand or your on your heart or on your belly and ask yourself, if I weren't afraid, what would I know right now? Like
Mm.
notice what arises and what first, you know, is your mind debating what the answer is, or
Mm.
is there a calm and clear, like direct path forward without you having to negotiate with yourself
Mm.
over the next decision? So,
Yeah. Mhm.
because I feel as though sometimes we feel as though we have to do something like to make somebody else happy, or if we're
Mm.
working for a demanding boss, or things like that. But so it is normal to confuse the two if you are not used to using it. But
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that intuition is like a muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger
Mm.
it gets. So you can ultimately begin relying on that the more you use it.
Which goes back to my questions. Why do you think so many women lose trust in their voice? And how can they begin to rebuild that self-trust?
Well, I think that the whole idea behind not trusting themselves, it's like it's not that they wake up one day and don't
Mm.
trust themselves. It happens quietly over time, shaped by 1,000 subtle or maybe not so subtle messages from family, from the culture, from your experiences. So, I mean, if you think about it, from a very young age, many of us are taught to prioritize other needs over
Hmm.
our own, to be good, to be agreeable, to be
Mm.
accommodating, as we mentioned. So we learn to read the room. We learn to anticipate expectations and sometimes silence our own knowing just to keep the peace. So for many women, trust erodes each time we ignore that gut feeling. And because we're just trying to avoid disappointing somebody or accepting their idea just so we're not being argumentative. So
Mhm.
there's the impact of these repeated actions of where our voice was dismissed. So eventually the noise of external expectations drowns out our inner wisdom. So we stop
Mm.
asking ourselves what we want, or if we do, we don't even trust the answer. And self-trust is what I think. Self-trust is never really lost. It's always there to be rebuilt, but it has to start with you listening to yourself. So what we need to start doing is being a little bit more compassionate, being a little bit more
Mhm.
patient with ourselves, and being willing to believe that our inner voice has something to share with us.
Mm.
So we have to
Mhm.
undo all of these patterns.
The
And
programming, yeah, everything around us, yeah.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that it's
especially in
easy.
midlife after like decades of it, obviously it's a build up. It's a kind of, wall blocking ourselves really. So,
It is. And it
mm.
becomes our way of moving through the world.
Mhm. Yeah. And going back earlier on, you mentioned numerology and astrology and tarot. How do you see these supporting women rather than creating dependency?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I know that everybody has their own relationship with these tools, and some of them, we've been taught don't trust them or whatever kind of thing. But I look at these tools not as answers, but as mirrors. So, for example, tarot helps with reflection, numerology helps with timing, astrology helps with context. They don't remove responsibility for decision making. So it's like you can't get dependent on these things because you still need to be the one to make the decision. But what these tools do is they deepen your awareness. So they invite in self-inquiry. They're not shortcuts to certainty. So every symbol, every card, every number is a prompt to ask yourself, what is true for me right now? So I'm interested in women becoming more self-trusting, and the success that is success to me, self-trust instead of the dependency.
Mhm. Yeah, so it's just a tool to help tap into your inner knowledge and inner trust.
Exactly. It's just a tool. It's like saying if you were to pick up your phone and use the calculator function on it, like it helps you move things along a little bit faster because it gives you,
Mm.
a way for you to move it along, except for the fact that, but you do know how to do math on your own. Like if you needed to do it on your own, it may take you a little bit longer, but you
Mm.
can still do it on your own. But these divination tools give us something that we can kind of have a little bit of a back and forth with, have a little bit of a conversation with, and it helps us build that muscle.
Mhm. And how can understanding time and cycles, particularly through numerology, support women during periods of change or reinvention?
So every number
Mm.
has a vibration, has an energy that it works with. And so there are a lot of different numbers that connect to us in our lifetime. So we have something called a life path number, which
Mhm.
is the energy of our entire lives. And that's a number that we get from our birth date.
Can I stop you for a second? How do you
Yeah.
calculate that?
Okay, sure. So a how you calculate your life path number
Mhm.
is you take your birth date. And
Mhm.
so imagine today is April 28th,
Mhm.
2026. Imagine today is your birthday. So what you do
Yeah.
is you would add 4 for the month of April,
Okay.
2 plus 8, so it's the 28th. So 4 plus 2 plus 8, and then the year plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus
Okay.
6. So you take
Oh.
all of the numbers of your birthday. So if you have
Mhm.
like a November birthday, you write 1 plus 1, so it's like you take the number of the month, the number day, and the number year. You add them all together as single digits and you get a number. So what we are looking for in numerology, there are foundational numbers, which are the numbers 1 through 9.
Mhm.
And there are master numbers, which are the number 11, 22, and 33. So when you add all of the numbers of your birth date together, my
Mhm.
question is, do you get I mean, obviously the number is going to be higher than 10. So is it an 11? Is it a 22? Or is it a 33? If it is not, and it's a double digit, what I want you to do is I want you to add that together. Like, so for example,
Am I
my
doing
no,
this now, Dina? I wasn't sure. So
you
like
can. I mean, you can. I mean, if you want to pause it and do it, you can absolutely do
quick
that. But
maths.
so what we do, so for example, my numbers add up to the number 32.
Okay.
So 32 is not a 1 through 9, and 11, a 22, or a 33. So what I do with the 32 is I add the 3 and the 2 together. And then
That's
I get
fine.
the number
Mhm.
5. So
Yeah.
my life path is a life path 5. So whatever your numbers that you add up to, and you're welcome to do that if you want, while I talk a little bit here, and so each of these numbers has an energy, has a
Mhm.
theme, has lessons that are attached to it, have places that you are successful, places that you are challenged, things that you are here to learn. So, how we find out about the energy that we bring and how we approach things, we can use our life path. And
Okay. Sorry, we got cut out, Dina. So you're back.
I'm back.
In the meantime, when I was reconnecting, I found my number. So my number added up to 29. Add together, it's 11. That's my life
That's your
path
life
number.
path. So
Yeah.
you have a master number life
Ooh,
path, which
ooh,
is a big
cool.
deal.
Nice. What does that
So
mean?
okay. So a life path
Mhm.
11 is the inspired visionary. So 11 is a number of intuition. It's a
Mhm.
number of illumination, and it's also a number of spiritual insight. So how interesting that you are doing this work. And it's about channeling inspiration and
Mm,
uplifting others with your vision. So the number 11, it carries gifts and challenges, both light and dark, but I feel like you are here to shine light and give information to those
yeah.
that are seeking it. So you are the inspired visionary. I feel as though people look to you as a leader and somebody who
Wow.
kind of sparks
Mm.
interest and curiosity amongst spiritual work, which is a very
Exactly what I'm
actually
doing.
on,
Do you hear that, listeners?
yeah,
Good
it's
luck,
like it's
everyone.
actually quite on target for what you're doing. So that's pretty
Yeah,
amazing. So let
that
me
is.
ask you, if you were to take
Hmm.
your month and the
Hmm.
day. So now what I
Yeah.
want you to do, I know you added it to your birth year. Now what I
Hmm.
want you to do, Soraya, is add your month. So take like, like I mentioned today,
Yeah.
add the
April.
single digits of your
Hmm.
birthday and your birth month, and then add 2026 to it.
So
So
this year,
this year, so what I'm getting for you now is your personal year number.
6, 7, 8, 9, 15. And so 15,
Okay.
so that's 6 then,
Very true.
right?
Okay. So you are a life path 11. So I feel as though you are always the inspired visionary. You are always, which is your life's work, honestly. So that makes a
Mm.
lot of sense. And this year, the number 6 I associate with the title of the nurturer. So this year, you are very, and you're, are you more tuned into caring for your family or you're very more, I don't know if you have more responsibilities at home this year, but the 6 is the energy of home, of family, and of healing. And your job this year is very much a job of being of service. So there's a very deep sense of responsibility in the 6th year. And one of the things that I warn about in a 6th year is if you do not take a step in the direction of finding balance in your life, like you're going to need to become associated with the word no this year. You cannot say yes to everything,
Wow.
even though I know that you probably really do want to. But one of my biggest concerns with a 6 year is about burnout. And you can't be everything for everyone, Soraya. You have to decide what's important. Like, one of my coaches once said to me, like, what needs to happen is you need to separate the urgent from the important. Because sometimes people come
Mm,
to you with urgency. It's urgent
yeah.
for them, but is it
Mm,
important for you? And this is what you are being faced with this year. And it can feel very overwhelming at times, but it can also be very rewarding. But a
mm,
lot of people, like the vision that I just got was almost like the vision of a life raft. Like you're all out at sea, and maybe you've been tossed out of the boat, and there's only one life raft, and that's you. And they're
yeah.
all holding on to you. And the thing is, a life raft is there to support, it is there to keep things afloat. But if 10 people try
Mm.
to get onto the life raft and it only can
Gonna
support
drown. Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
Mm,
You just got your visionary of it. So you are a life path 11. And I think that what's really going to be helpful for you this year is for you to lean into your life path 11 energy, which is about the spiritual work that you're doing. So you have to make time to meditate. You have to make time to journal. You have to make time for you, because if you don't, you could burn out, or as the metaphor that I gave, you could drown. So how does
Guys,
that
Dina,
sound to you?
it sounds spot on. That's great. Honestly, for anyone who doesn't know me knows I've got a lot of things going on right now, and I just have so many things, great opportunities, but it's about saying no as well. And I think I'm trying to do too much. And I'm a therapist. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I have so many responsibilities. So what you're saying to me, I have the visual of me on the lifeboat right now. So yeah,
I
very
love
good,
that. And
Dina.
keep that
Yeah.
visual. And I think that sometimes when people come to us and they ask us to, for a favor, or if they could, ask us to do the
Mm.
carpool this afternoon, or they could dump an extra project on us, you
Yeah.
have to ask yourself, like the question that I want you to ask yourself,
Is it
Soraya,
urgent
is
or important? Yeah.
that. And also, if you are going to say yes to something, I want to know, I want you to know, how is this serving me? So
Mm.
the question is saying yes to this serving the person that's asking you, or is it serving you? Like, for example,
Yeah.
if you take on a project and it gets you to a place of knowledge that you are not quite at yet,
Yeah.
or it allows you to work with somebody that you really are dying to work with, that
Mm.
is how it's serving you. But if it's just going to drain you and pull you under,
Mm.
then it's a no.
Yeah. No, completely. And also, I think it kind of brings me to the point of like sometimes we, as women, like you mentioned earlier, we're people pleasers. At this point in life, we have to be a bit selfish as well. We have to think of ourselves a bit more and see what works for us as well, right?
You do
And
it,
it's
and
not
that's really
selfishness. Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
because being in a six, being the
Mm.
nurturer, you are in a mindset of service. You
Yeah.
are feeling like it is my job to be of service to people. And I do feel there is an element of guilt. And, I feel you can be very hard on yourself if you feel it like we have unrealistic expectations for what we are
Mm.
capable of doing. I mean, I know, Soraya, that in your closet there is a cape with an S on it, not only for Soraya, but for Supermom and Superwoman.
I hate,
And
you know what, Dina? That's honestly, I feel like I'm having a counseling session right now. because because you really like explaining how I am. And for those of you who do know me, who listen to this podcast, like I have been called Supermum in the past, and it's a label I really hate because I've had to be strong, and it's not really served me because I've taken a lot more than I should have. And I think that's not just me. I think a lot of women in general, they have this badge. They have to be strong. They have to be, and I think at this point, turning back to everyone else, in this point in our life, we have to really kind of let go of that, trying to do everything for everyone. It's okay, like to show weakness and to let things go sometimes. So yeah. So thank you,
yeah,
Dina.
no, my pleasure. And I just want to add on, like also the things that challenge you, the things
Yeah.
that are hard for you are your lessons. There
Mm,
is no mistake that you are being faced with this right now. There is no mistake that this is your struggle because until
mm,
you learn this, you can't move on to the next thing.
yeah.
So this is exactly where you're meant to be. So this is what you're saying, like how you, I think the whole reason why I started all of this is because you were asking about how do we know our timing? Like how does
Mm,
numerology
yeah.
tell us our timing? So for example, like right now is not a great time for you to start a new business. Like right now is not a new time for you to launch something new because you are in a 6 year. So
Yeah.
if you were in a 1 year, then I would say, well, yeah, it's a great time because 1 year is all about, the pioneer. It's about being independent and being original and about leadership and new beginnings. But you're in a six, and the six is saying you just have to keep your head above water this year. And you need to figure out how to make everything that all the plates that you have spinning kept going. That is your
Mm,
challenge of this year. So, how numerology can help, like knowing your number of the year. And it's funny, like knowing your life path and your number of the year together really gives me a very clear idea of the energy that we're working with. So, I know that you have so much strength and so much creativity and people
yeah.
are you're like magnet. You're like a magnet. Like people are drawn to you. And I feel as though having all these people drawn to you, it also empowers you and it makes you want to do more. And at the same time, you're at a six.
Yeah.
So you need to kind of manage what you say yes to because you are only one person and we all only have 24 hours and 7 days. That's it.
Yeah. I know. Wow, Dina, thanks for that.
Of
Well, you just give me a
course.
great example how you work. That's amazing. So,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. And it's so much like and thank you for being willing to be
of
the
course.
example because my talking about it and my
Mm.
actually doing it, it makes it a lot clearer.
Yeah, no, it definitely shows an example about how you would work with a client and to use a numerology to guide them, to just give them an idea of what kind of year they're in and what they should be focusing on. But yeah, it's all spot on.
Absolutely. And then I use my coaching, like, and I ask you the questions like, you need to distinguish between what's urgent and what's important. How is this serving me? So I like to give the client some questions. And these are the questions that you need to start asking yourself
Mm.
because people come to us and when they are looking us in the eye and they're saying, will you do this for me? It is human of us to want to say yes. Like, I want
Yeah,
to help you. You are in a pinch. You are having a difficult situation. As a human, I want to help you. And do I have the bandwidth? Is this
yeah.
possible with what I'm dealing with right now?
Mm. Yeah, no, completely. And again, going back to women in midlife, this is even more important because we really have, we've got so much pressure on us all the time. So I think this is the point in life we really have to kind of let go of that and start living our lives for ourselves more, right?
Yes. And
And following our
these are kind
intuition,
of
like you
like
were saying.
yeah, and these are the wake up calls. These are those
Yeah,
moments where you just feel like, you know what? I can't ignore this anymore. You can't
yeah.
ignore yourself anymore because we are taught to ignore ourselves.
Absolutely. And what happens in the woman's life when she begins to truly trust herself again?
Oh, well, I mean, to live in alignment
Mm.
is, I mean, that's everything. And so another thing that I do with my clients is I do what I call, it's called values mining. And
Values
like
mining.
values mining. So what we're doing
Hmm.
is like we're going mining, we're going kind of like
Oh, okay, got it. Yeah.
hunting, we're going out foraging like hunters and gatherers, and we're going looking for what you value in your life. So it's funny, a lot of times when I start working with people, I say to them, well, what's important to you? And people
Yeah.
might say some things to me like, well, it's really important that I go to the gym, and it's really important that I drink water during the day. It's important
Mm.
that I see my family. Like I'm really close to my family, like all these things, like, it's important that I get a lot of sleep or whatever it is. And so then I say to them, oh, okay, great. So, are you going to the gym? Well, no, not right now. I'm really busy, but I'm going to get back. And so, do you drink water during the day? I don't. I drink a lot of coffee right now, but like I'm definitely going to start drinking water. Like it's definitely a priority to me. And I'm like, oh,
Mm.
great. Well, how often do you see your family? Well, not that often. We're all really busy. So I'm like,
Mm.
okay. You just told me that all these things are important to you and they are your values. Like your family is your values, your work ethic, exercise, drinking water, like how you live your life is important. But none of these things are being honored. So,
Mm,
what would your life look like if you lived your life in alignment with your values? Like, what if you did get enough sleep and you did get up and go to the gym and you did, have a regular connection with your family? How could that or would that change your life?
yeah.
And like, would that allow you to be more in alignment with your authentic self?
Hmm.
So, I think that there's a lot of things that people say they want to do, but when it comes time
Mm,
to actually, hitting the alarm clock and, getting up and
setting
actually
up, yeah.
doing it,
Mm,
there's a little bit of a discrepancy between what we say we want to do and what we actually do. So
hmm.
that's kind of like where my coaching comes in because I only want it for you if you want it for you. And I would like to know your why. Like, what is the why? Like, why do you want to be close to your family? Why do you want to go to the gym 5 days a week? Why do you want to, why do you want to do these things? Because if we can't connect it to you, I
Hmm.
can't want it for you more than you do.
Yeah.
So, when we are living in alignment, things are just smoother. Things are just easier. So, I used to think that having a purpose was like a destination, something that I could reach by working really hard and finding the right path. But
Hmm.
now I see purpose as being more subtle. It's just about me living my life as being alive. Like my purpose isn't a job, it's not a title, it's not a relationship status or a list of achievements. It's the thread that runs through how I show up every day. And it's about
Yeah.
living life with intention. And it's about using my gifts to help others and support my own growth. So that is how alignment works for me. It's about my outer life matching my inner values.
Yeah, makes sense. And for someone listening today who feels disconnected, what's one simple daily ritual that they can build to rebuild their self-trust, their intuition?
Well, I want people to start out basic. I mean, I can give you, I'm going to give you two things. First thing is
Mhm.
the hand on the heart. I call this the hand on the heart ritual, and it's every morning before you even get out of bed, before you reach for your phone. I want you to take a minute and put your hand on your heart
Hmm.
and close your eyes and breathe slowly and say, how am I feeling right now? And whatever answer comes, even if it's unclear,
Hmm.
this is about practicing kindness for yourself. It's not
Yeah.
about fixing anything. And over time, it becomes a steady habit. And it's about starting your day, letting your body know, I'm listening. I'm here. And you may be surprised by how much change can happen just by noticing yourself first.
Hmm.
And then another thing is be outside. This could be in nature, but I'm going to invite your listeners to take out the AirPods. I don't want you to be there with music. I don't want you to be there with a book in your ear. I want you to disconnect
Hmm.
to like our screens and the things that are distracting us so we can focus on what's happening. Like sometimes that's where I know that I get ideas a lot of the time when I'm in the shower because I'm just alone with myself, like letting the water kind of run over me.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
the shower is another great place to do that. But if you're looking for something to do and like you're not in the shower, go for a walk outside, let your feet, touch the ground, touch the grass if possible, and just enjoy the moment with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so important because, I think in our society, we're always rushing from one thing to another. And even when we're doing something, we're constantly thinking about the next thing we have to do. So that's really great advice, just to kind of learn to be present and grounding.
And these are little acts of self-care.
Yeah.
And I think that like we just need to remind ourselves we're here.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
great. Thank you. And how has your understanding of purpose evolved through different life stages?
Well, I feel like you know, I feel like I am interested in connecting with what feels true
Hmm.
in this moment. And I know that for each stage of life, that can be different.
Yeah.
So, but understanding your purpose, like being purposeful in life takes courage, and
Hmm.
it's requiring you to be willing to release what doesn't fit
Hmm.
anymore so you can move towards what does feel right and what does feel just like more aligned with your mindset right now. So I would, maybe ask, suggest a ritual to be, you can ask yourself, like, does this action or this relationship or this commitment that you are maybe perseverating over, is it following somebody else's idea of where I should be, or is it my own? Like, is this part of my own meaning, my own purpose? So, purpose isn't about finding one thing, it's about building a life that feels like home, in any moment that you are in.
Yeah. Thank you. And what does living in alignment of your intuition and inner guidance look like day to day now for you, Dina?
Alignment is quiet.
Mm.
I mean, I find that it's not about striving or working hard to prove
Hmm.
my worth. It's a steady commitment to living a life that feels true to me. So it shows up in small ways, like in my daily choices, respecting my energy instead of pushing past it. And
Mm.
as I was sharing with you, letting a no stand on its own without
Mm.
any guilt and without any explanation, because I feel like that's a big thing. I feel like we always, women in general, feel like if I'm going to say no, oh, I'm going to need to explain why I'm saying no. And
Yeah.
I want you to know, like, no is a full sentence. And so I am looking, so alignment looks like my inner and my outer life matching.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I like to ask these questions at the end to all my guests. First of all, what's lighting you up most in your work at the moment?
So what's lighting me up in my work is I really love working with these women who are just so vulnerable and so honest. Like, they are teaching me every day. And I feel as though I consider myself not only a teacher, but I consider myself a student. And when I show up in a very vulnerable and compassionate and with grace and love, I feel as though everywhere I look, I am met with that same grace and compassion and vulnerability. And I am amazed by the clients that I get to work with. And I feel so privileged that I get to do this work.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I find that as well. Whenever I work with clients, I always see a bit myself in them. I'm learning more about myself as we're going along. It's this collective consciousness, right, Dina? We're
Yeah,
all kind of
absolutely.
connected.
We are all connected.
Mm. And if there's one message you'd love every woman to hear right now, what would it be?
Well, no one is broken.
Mm.
This transformation, this midlife thing that we are going through is an invitation back to you. So I would say, don't look back. I want
Mhm.
you to, when we drive the car, we are looking into the front of the car. We're not worried about what's going on behind
Yeah.
us so much. And take the opportunity to reconnect with you so you can move forward into alignment and living your most fulfilled, happy, and most joyful life.
Love that. And my last question is, what does living as your limitless self mean to you right now?
To me, limitless is about freedom and about like, honestly, it's about saying yes to travel. It's about, I love to read. It's about learning. I just feel as though being limitless to me, I saw the wings of like an eagle, like a bird, really
Mm.
just spread out wide. And it's about just flying high and feeling strong that I am on my path
Mm.
and doing the right work. And there is no ceiling because it's all happening for me.
Mm. Love that. Thank you so much, Dina. Thank you so much for coming on the show today and answering my questions and teaching me about my life path number. That was really helpful. So thank you.
Thank you. I
Um,
loved meeting with you and sharing all these. This is a great conversation. I really appreciate you so much, Soraya, and your work.
oh, thank you, Dina. Me too. Thanks so much for listening to Hot Flashes and Higher Self. And if something in today's episode spoke to you and you're feeling ready for deeper support, then you can book a one-to-one session with me. I work with women around the world to help them shift from stuck to self-led. And if you're craving real connection, movement, rest, and reset, then check out the women's retreats I host. They're a beautiful mix of healing, hot yoga, incredible food, and soul-deep conversations and connections. And you can find all the details at www.ls-therapy.com or come hang out with me on Instagram at Limitless Self Therapy. And you can also reach me directly anytime at soraya@lstherapy.com. I'd love to connect. Take care of you, fill that cup of yours, and remember, your next chapter is already unfolding.